Eli had always liked the quiet of his small quarters. The colony on Kepler 127 was far from the bustling cities of Earth, and he liked it that way. Each night, the hum of the life support systems and the faint glow of the control panels were the only sounds. He spent hours tinkering with machines, fixing small problems that no one else noticed. For Eli, it was peaceful, until the night she appeared. It started with a strange reading on the energy monitor. Eli frowned at the console, leaning closer. There was a spike, soft but noticeable. The source seemed right outside his room. He checked the corridor camera, but it showed nothing. No maintenance bot, no wandering crew member, nothing. The yow lights flickered for a moment, and then everything returned to normal. Eli rubbed his eyes. Must be a sensor glitch, he muttered. But his instincts, honed from years of fixing delicate machinery, told him otherwise. Something had changed, something alive. Hours later, after the colony had gone to sleep, he awoke to a faint movement at the edge of his room. At first he thought it was his imagination. Then he saw her, a girl, silent and calm, standing in the dim light of the open doorway. She looked strange, not like any human he had seen. Her skin was pale, but glimmered faintly, like moonlight on water. She wore no clothes, but it was not shocking or inappropriate. It was her presence that seemed natural, as if she had always belonged there. Her eyes, large and luminous, met his, and he felt an odd sense of recognition, as if he had known her in a different life. Eli froze. Who are you?" he asked, his voice trembling slightly. The girl did not speak. She lifted a hand and pointed to his chest, then slowly traced a line down to his tools, to the devices he had been working on. He understood immediately. She wanted to communicate, but not with words. She was showing him that she understood machines. Cautiously, Eli approached. "Are you lost?" he asked. She nodded, a small fluid motion that seemed almost like dancing. Her movements were precise yet graceful. She seemed to radiate calm, but there was also fear in her eyes. Eli decided to take a risk. He held out his hand. "I'm Eli. I'll help you." She hesitated, then took his hand, her touch soft but firm. Her fingers felt colder than a human's, yet comforting. She led him to his workbench and pointed to the energy monitor. Eli realized she wanted to explain something about the readings he had noticed earlier. Carefully, he showed her the display. She studied it for a moment, then touched it, and a wave of understanding passed through him. She could sense energy, patterns, flows, and anomalies in a way humans could not. "Your presence, it's affecting the colony's sensors," Eli said slowly. She nodded again. Then she drew a shape in the air with her finger, a spiral, tight and bright in his mind. He understood. She had come here because the colony was nearby a hidden danger, a threat that she had been tracking. Eli's heart raced. "You're running from something?" She nodded. Fear flashed in her eyes, but she did not speak. Her silence spoke volumes. He stepped back, giving her space. Okay, you're safe here," he said. The words felt strange even as he spoke them. He had never promised safety to anyone before, yet somehow he knew he meant it. The girl moved closer, and for the first time Eli noticed a faint glow in the corner of her eyes. It was subtle, like starlight, but it illuminated the room. She seemed fragile, yet he could feel a strange power emanating from her. It was as if she belonged somewhere beyond the stars, and yet here she was in his room, trusting him completely. They spent hours together in silence. Eli fetched blankets and a small water supply, though she did not need them in the same way humans did. He offered them anyway. She watched him, curious, tilting her head slightly as he worked. Every movement he made she seemed to understand intuitively. By the time the first light of Kepler 127's twin suns filtered into the room, Eli felt a connection he could not explain. She was not human, Yet she was not entirely alien either. She seemed to bridge two worlds, one he could see and one he could barely imagine. Suddenly, an alarm sounded in the colony. Eli's heart jumped. The energy monitor flared red. The girl looked at him, her eyes wide with fear. The anomaly she had been tracking was moving closer. Eli realized that her presence had not gone unnoticed by the colony's systems. Something, or someone, was coming. "Stay here," he said, trying to keep his voice calm. "I'll figure this out." She nodded, her trust in him absolute. Moved to the door and peered into the corridor. At first it appeared empty. Then he saw a shadow moving in the distance, a drone, small and silent, scanning the halls. It had not detected the girl yet. Eli's mind raced. He needed a plan. He could not let them find her. Not now. Not ever. He returned to the girl, kneeling so their eyes were level. "We have to hide," he whispered. She tilted her head and stepped closer to him, ready to follow. Eli guided her to a maintenance hatch beneath his workbench, a cramped, hidden space meant for emergency repairs. She slid inside, silent as always. Eli followed and sealed the hatch. In the small darkness, he felt the warmth of her presence. Somehow, despite the danger, he felt calm. She had slipped into his life, silent and bare, like she belonged. And now, he knew, he could never let her go. Outside, the drone moved closer, its sensors sweeping the corridor. Eli's fingers tightened on the tools he carried. Whatever was coming, he would face it. Together, they would face it. The colony slept, unaware of the silent stranger in his room, unaware that a human and an alien had just begun a story that would change everything. Eli stayed in the cramped maintenance hatch with the girl, listening to the faint hum of the colony above. Every creak of the floor panels made his heart race. He glanced at her, noticing again how calm she remained. She did not speak, yet somehow he felt that she understood everything he was thinking. "Don't worry," Eli whispered. "I won't let them find you." He reached for his small toolkit. Even in the dark, he worked carefully, planning ways to mask her energy signature from the colony sensors. She watched him, tilting her head curiously. Then slowly she placed her hand on the panel of his portable device. Instantly, Eli felt a subtle pulse in his mind. Not frightening, but sharp. Patterns, numbers, energy flows, all seemed to rearrange themselves in his thoughts. She was teaching him, showing him how her perception worked. Eli blinked. You can sense energy? Like, all of it?" She nodded. It was incredible. Her abilities went far beyond any human technology. He realized something important. If you can sense energy like this, maybe we can hide you from the colony sensors completely. The girl's eyes brightened, and for the first time, she allowed a tiny smile. It was brief, but Eli felt it deeply. Hours passed, and a strange rhythm developed between them. Eli would speak softly, explaining simple things about human life, how machines worked, how people slept, how the colony functioned. She would respond not with words but with subtle gestures and small pulses of energy that Eli somehow understood. It was not just communication, it was connection. For Eli, it felt like learning from a mind that had known the universe longer than humans ever had. And for her, it seemed like discovering a species full of surprises, creatures who could build and create, who could adapt and endure, even when the odds were against them. But calm did not last long. From the corridor above came a faint, mechanical whirring. Eli stiffened. Someone, or something, was moving through the halls again. He quickly covered the small hatch with a panel and held the girl close. "Stay quiet," he whispered. The drone had not detected her yet, but if it did, there would be no hiding. The creature above had advanced sensors, capable of detecting unusual energy patterns. Eli's mind raced. How could a human survive against such technology? Then he remembered the lesson she had just given him, how to manipulate energy patterns. Carefully, he adjusted the panel, mixing the girl's energy signature with harmless electrical signals from nearby devices. He could feel the faint pulse of her presence soften, become invisible to the sensors. The drone passed by without stopping. Eli exhaled slowly, feeling a wave of relief. The girl looked at him, her eyes reflecting gratitude. He smiled. See? Humans can be clever sometimes, too. For the next several days, Eli and the girl formed a quiet routine. He would repair machines and tweak sensors, while she seemed to learn at an astonishing pace. Every day she grew more curious about human technology. One evening she carefully lifted a small device, turning it in her hands. Lights blinked, circuits hummed, and Eli watched, amazed. "You're learning fast," he said. "Faster than I could ever teach you." She looked at him, her gaze filled with something he could not name. Trust, admiration, maybe even friendship. But it was not just learning. Eli realized she was observing humans too. Not just machines, but their behavior, their creativity, and their courage. One day he had accidentally dropped a wrench. She caught it mid-air, not clumsily, but with perfect timing. "You adapt," she seemed to say, as if impressed. Eli chuckled quietly. "Yeah, humans are good at that. Surprising, huh?" Her eyes glimmered with something like wonder. Eli felt a strange pride. Here was an alien creature capable of things he could barely imagine, admiring the strengths of a human. It was humbling, but their quiet days were not safe. Eli noticed that the colony's energy readings were becoming more erratic. The girl's presence caused subtle disturbances, and the colony's security systems were beginning to notice. One afternoon, the colony was quiet that night, but Eli could feel tension in the air. The girl, standing beside him in the small storage room, remained calm, yet he sensed a flicker of worry in her eyes. The alarms from earlier had stopped, but he knew the warning was only temporary. Something or someone was tracking them, and their time to act was running out. Eli crouched beside the control panel, scanning the energy monitors. The readings showed small movements in the corridor. Drones, the automated security units the colony used to patrol for anomalies. They had detected something unusual. "They're coming," Eli whispered, his voice low. The girl tilted her head, understanding immediately. She could sense their presence in ways Eli could not, her senses stretching beyond the walls of the room. He had to think fast. "We can't stay here," he said. "We need to move." The girl followed silently as he led her through a series of maintenance tunnels, narrow and twisting, away from the main sections of the colony. Each step had to be calculated. One wrong move, and the drones would detect the faint energy signature she emitted. Eli adjusted the panels along the walls, using his knowledge of the colony's electrical systems to mask her presence. The tunnels were dark, and Eli moved cautiously, holding a small handheld scanner. Every corner could hide a threat. Every sound could signal danger. The girl's hand brushed against his arm, a gentle reminder that she was there. He felt her calmness, and it strengthened his resolve. Suddenly, a low hum echoed through the tunnel. A drone was approaching. Its sensors were sharp, scanning every inch of the corridor. Eli froze, pressing the girl behind a support beam. She crouched silent and still, almost blending into the shadows. The drone passed, humming quietly as it glided by. Eli exhaled slowly, relief washing over him. "Good reflexes," he whispered. The girl looked at him, her eyes reflecting a faint light from the scanner. There was no need for words, she understood. As they continued, Eli realized something remarkable. The girl seemed to anticipate the movements of the drones, predicting their paths before he even saw them. It was as if her mind could process probabilities faster than any human computer. He marveled at her abilities, but he also understood the risk. The drones were improving, adapting, and one mistake could expose them both. Hours passed as they navigated the labyrinth of tunnels. They finally reached a section near the cargo bay, a place where the walls were lined with storage crates and machinery. Eli signaled for the girl to hide behind a stack of containers. He peeked around the corner and saw multiple drones moving in formation. They had found traces of her energy signature, though they did not yet know what, or who, was there. Eli's mind raced. How could a human outsmart machines designed to detect even the smallest anomalies? Then he remembered what she had taught him, the way she could sense energy patterns, the subtle pulses that could be manipulated. Carefully, he adjusted the nearby power conduits, creating interference patterns that mimicked other energy sources. The drones hesitated, scanning the wrong areas. The girl's eyes glimmered with approval, and Eli felt a surge of confidence. Together, they were stronger than the machines hunting them. Humans had ingenuity, adaptability, and courage, qualities that no algorithm could fully predict. Suddenly, one drone veered closer, its sensors scanning the exact spot where the girl crouched. Eli's heart pounded. He had only seconds to act. Thinking quickly, he activated a small EMP device he had been carrying. The pulse emitted a short burst of electromagnetic energy, temporarily disabling the drone. It collapsed to the floor, motionless. The girl stayed calm, watching him closely. For Eli, it was the first time he realized that humans could face technology far beyond their own, and survive, if they used their minds. They moved forward cautiously, reaching a small service elevator. Eli pressed the controls, and the elevator descended into the lower levels of the colony, away from the drones. The girl stayed close, her silent presence a source of reassurance. Once they reached the bottom, they found themselves in an abandoned sector of the colony. Dust covered the floors and old machinery lay scattered. It was quiet, too quiet. Eli knew it was a temporary haven, a place to catch their breath and plan their next move. He turned to the girl. "We need a plan," he said. "The drones. We'll be back and they'll be looking harder now." She nodded, tilting her head in thought. Then she touched a panel on the wall, sending a pulse through the old machinery. Lights flickered on, revealing hidden systems and pathways that Eli had never noticed before. Her abilities were extraordinary. She could see the structure of the colony in ways humans could not. Together, they began to map a route that would take them safely out of the colony and hopefully into the vastness of space. Eli felt a growing admiration for her. She was not just an alien visitor, she was a teacher, a guide, and a partner. And she was beginning to see humans in a new light as well. "We can do this," he said, more to himself than to her. "We can survive. Humans, we always find a way." The girl looked at him, her expression unreadable but her presence full of trust. Eli smiled, feeling a surge of determination. Whatever lay ahead, he would face it with her. Together they would escape, and she would see the strength and courage that humans were capable of, even against dangers far greater than their small colony could imagine. Above them, the drones were preparing for another sweep. But Eli and the girl were already moving, silent and careful, weaving through the shadows with precision and purpose. The colony's lights flickered in the distance, and the hum of machines echoed through the tunnels. Eli felt something stirring inside him. Mix of fear, excitement, and resolve. He had never faced anything like this. Yet he knew one thing. Humans were clever, resourceful, and fearless when it mattered most. And with the girl at his side, they could face any threat the universe sent their way. The adventure had truly begun. Eli and the girl moved cautiously through the abandoned corridors of the colony, their footsteps silent against the metal floor. The earlier encounter with the drones had taught them both the value of patience and careful observation. Every shadow, every faint hum of machinery, could hide danger. Yet, despite the tension, Eli felt a strange sense of determination. They were no longer just hiding. They were planning. The girl paused at a junction and raised her hand, her palm glowing faintly. Eli stopped and leaned closer. Through the subtle pulses of energy, he sensed she was pointing toward a hidden chamber. Nearby, she stepped forward and he followed. The door was old and partially rusted, but it moved easily under her touch, as if she had unlocked it without a key. Inside was a small room filled with ancient equipment, devices that Eli had never seen. Before alien technology integrated with the colony's own systems, he walked carefully among the consoles, amazed at how advanced some of the machinery was. "Where did all this come from?" he whispered. The girl touched a console, and images appeared in the air. Holographic projections showing vast star systems, unknown planets, and fleets of ships. Eli stared in awe. She had been tracking something far beyond the colony, a fleet perhaps, or a threat moving silently through space. Through her gestures and pulses of energy, Eli began to understand. She had come from a civilization that had been hunted for centuries. Her people were scattered, hiding among the stars, and she had been sent to find a safe place, a refuge for her kind. The colony on Kepler 127 was merely a waypoint, a chance to regroup and plan. You're searching for your people," Eli said slowly. She nodded, and the pulse of energy she sent him conveyed not just information, but emotion. Fear, hope, and determination all intertwined. Eli felt a rush of respect for her. She was brave, yet vulnerable. Strong, yet alone. Eli realized something important. Her abilities were extraordinary, but she could not survive without help. Humans had strengths of their own: ingenuity, resilience, and courage. Together, they could combine their skills to protect her and perhaps even outsmart the Izar forces hunting her. Suddenly, a soft vibration ran through the room. Eli stiffened. The colony's security systems were still scanning, and they had not yet given up. He glanced at the girl. She seemed calm, but he sensed tension in the way her fingers moved over the console. He stepped closer. "We need a plan," he said. She responded with a series of gestures, showing him star maps and routes through the colony that were not on any official chart. Some paths led to abandoned maintenance shafts, others to emergency exits. She had memorized every detail, combining her own knowledge with what she could sense from the colony's energy patterns. Eli's mind raced. "We can use these routes to escape the drones. If we move carefully, we can reach the outer docks and get off this planet." She tilted her head and pulsed a series of energy signals which Eli interpreted as agreement. She trusted him, and he would not betray that trust. Hours passed as they prepared. Eli modified small devices to emit energy signals that would confuse the drones. He checked and double-checked every path she had indicated. Together, they tested the plan in silence, moving from one safe zone to another, practicing how to evade the colony's surveillance. During a brief pause, Eli looked at her. "I need to know your name. I can't just call you the girl." She hesitated, then traced a simple symbol in the air, a name alien in structure, but easy enough for him to remember. "Lyra," he whispered. "Try I." She nodded, and he felt Eli and Lyra moved through the hidden tunnels of the colony, the hum of distant machinery echoing around them. Every step had to be careful, every turn calculated. The drones were still searching, their sensors probing every corridor. But Eli had a plan now, and Lyra's abilities made it possible. He stopped at a junction and pulled out a small handheld device. "This is it," he whispered. "From here we can reach the outer docks and get a ship ready. But we have to move fast. They'll be scanning these tunnels soon." Lyra nodded, her eyes shining with determination. She placed a hand on the device, and Eli felt the same pulses of energy he had learned to interpret. She was mapping the drone's movements in real time, helping him adjust their path as they went. Together, they were faster and smarter than any machine could be. The first corridor was narrow, dark, and lined with old storage crates. Eli moved quickly, using the crates for cover as he led Lyra along the walls. Occasionally, a drone's distant hum would make them freeze, holding their breath as it passed by. Each time, Lyra's calm presence reminded Eli to stay focused. At one point, a group of drones appeared ahead, their sensors glowing faintly. Eli held up a hand. "We need a distraction," he whispered. Lyra tilted her head and then sent a small pulse of energy into a nearby electrical panel. Sparks flew, and the drones veered toward the source, investigating the sudden anomaly. Eli grinned. "Good thinking," he said. They moved forward, slipping past the distracted machines. It was a small victory, but every step mattered. Finally, they reached a large maintenance shaft leading to the colony's lower docking area. Eli pried open the hatch, and the smell of machinery and recycled air filled their noses. The outer docks were within reach. He motioned for Lyra to follow. "Almost there," he whispered. "Just a little further." The docking area was quiet, almost eerily so. Eli had chosen this sector because it was rarely used, but now he realized that quiet made them vulnerable. One wrong move and the drones could spot them from above. Lyra crouched beside him, her large eyes scanning the area. She pointed to a small ship in the corner, a transport vessel that had been left idle. Eli felt a surge of hope. It wasn't much, but it would be enough to get them off the planet. He ran toward the ship, Lyra following silently. The engines were offline, but he quickly worked to restart them. Sparks flew as he bypassed old circuits, connecting power lines and rerouting energy. Lyra assisted, her ability to sense energy flows making the process faster and safer. "Almost there," Eli muttered, sweat dripping from his forehead. The hum of approaching drones reminded him of the danger. Every second counted. Finally, the engines roared to life. The ship shuddered, and Eli let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. Lyra looked at him, her eyes reflecting relief and excitement. Together they had done it, but their escape was not yet complete. As Eli guided the ship toward the hangar exit, a massive shadow appeared above them. A large drone, faster and more powerful than any they had faced before. It had tracked the energy signature of the ship and was now blocking their path. Eli's heart raced. He adjusted the controls, weaving the ship between docking columns. Lyra sent out a pulse of energy, subtly manipulating the ship's sensors to confuse the drone. It veered slightly, but it was not enough. "We need a plan," Eli shouted. Lyra's fingers traced a complex pattern on the console, sending a coordinated signal through the ship's systems. Lights flickered, engines hummed, and for a moment it seemed as if the ship had a mind of its own. The drone lunged forward, but Eli's quick thinking combined with Lyra's powers allowed them to dodge at the last second. Sparks flew as the drone grazed the ship, and Eli could feel the tension in the air. One more hit like that and they would be trapped. "We can outsmart it," Eli said, determination in his voice. He remembered the patterns of the other drones, the way they responded to energy fluctuations. He triggered a sequence that sent false signals through the docking bay, creating multiple energy reflections. The massive drone hesitated, scanning the false signals. Eli saw his chance. "Now!" he shouted, and the ship shot forward, dodging past the drone and into the open expanse of space. Lyra leaned back, her eyes wide with admiration. Eli felt a rush of triumph. Together, they had faced danger and survived, relying on human creativity and alien abilities. As they left the colony behind, Eli glanced at Lyra. "See? Humans are pretty clever when it counts." She sent a subtle pulse, almost like a laugh that made him smile. But even in their moment of relief, Eli knew this was only the beginning. The warlord hunting Lyra was still out there, and the fleet he commanded was vast. They had escaped the colony, but the real journey, finding a safe refuge for her people, was only beginning. Lyra touched the controls lightly, guiding the ship through hidden paths in space. Her knowledge of star systems and energy flows was unparalleled. Eli realized that humans were strong, but with allies like her they could accomplish almost anything. For the first time, Eli felt a deep sense of purpose. He was not just a technician or an ordinary human. He was part of something much larger, a story of survival, trust, and courage that spanned the stars. The stars stretched before them, vast and endless. The ship moved silently, carrying Eli and Lyra toward the unknown. Danger awaited, but so did hope. And Eli knew one thing for certain: humans, with their ingenuity and courage, could face any challenge, even when the universe itself seemed against them. Together, they would continue. The stars stretched endlessly before Eli and Lyra as their small ship glided through the quiet of space. The colony on Kepler 127 was far behind them now, just a collection of lights fading into the distance. But the danger was far from over. Somewhere out there, the warlord's fleet searched relentlessly for Lyra. Eli checked the ship's energy, readings. Everything was holding steady, thanks to Lyra's guidance. She sat quietly beside him, her fingers tracing subtle movements over the console, sending pulses of energy that made the ship's systems more efficient than any human engineer could manage alone. "We're safe for now," Eli said softly. "But we can't stay in one place too long. They'll find us eventually." Lyra nodded, her calm presence a reassurance. She didn't speak, yet Eli felt her understanding. It was as if her mind and his were connected in a way that went beyond words. Together they could plan, adapt, and survive. Suddenly, a warning flashed on the console. A small scout vessel from the warlord's fleet had detected unusual energy signatures nearby. Eli's heart raced. They were being tracked again. "Ready?" he asked. Lyra's eyes glimmered and she gave a small pulse of energy. Her way of saying yes. Eli quickly adjusted the ship's trajectory. He remembered the lessons of the last chase. Creativity and quick thinking could overcome even the most advanced technology. He triggered a series of false energy pulses, mimicking the ship's location in multiple directions at once. The scout vessel paused, confused by the conflicting signals. "Now, Lyra," Eli whispered. She touched the controls lightly, amplifying the pulses and spreading them further into space. The scout ship wavered, then retreated to regroup with the main fleet. Eli let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. "We did it," he said, glancing at Lyra. She sent a subtle pulse of amusement, almost like a human smile. It made him chuckle. Despite everything, they were alive. But Eli knew this was only temporary. The warlord's fleet was vast, and Lyra's people needed a safe home. They could not run forever. Eli studied the star map she had shown him, plotting a course to a hidden sector, a region of space unclaimed and unseen by the warlord's forces. "Do you think we can make it?" Lyra seemed to ask without words, through a pulse of energy that Eli understood perfectly. "We have to," he said firmly. "Humans find a way, Lyra. We always do." As they navigated through asteroid fields and dark nebulae, Eli marveled at the combination of human ingenuity and Lyra's abilities. He adjusted thrusters, rerouted power, and improvised with tools that had never been designed for this purpose. She guided him, sensing gravitational shifts and energy currents that no human could detect. Together, they were unstoppable. Hours passed, the stars shifted, and the distant glow of the hidden sector began to appear on the scanners. Eli's heart lifted. They were close. The last challenge remained. The warlord's flagship had appeared, a massive vessel blocking their path. Eli tightened his grip on the controls. "We can't outrun that thing, but we can outsmart it." He remembered how humans used ingenuity to overcome impossible odds, like his ancestors building machines to survive harsh planets or escaping storms no one else could endure. "Follow my lead," he said. Lyra's eyes glimmered with understanding. He adjusted the ship's energy signature to match the nebula around them, blending their vessel with the swirling gases. Then he triggered small energy pulses at different points, creating multiple false targets. The flagship scanned the area, trying to pinpoint them. Its sensors swept back and forth, but each pulse led it in the wrong direction. Eli guided the ship carefully, weaving through the nebula like a predator stalking through shadow. Lyra added her subtle energy manipulations, amplifying the pulses and creating perfect confusion. The massive ship hesitated, unable to find the real target. Eli's heart pounded, but he trusted in their combined abilities. Finally, they slipped past the flagship and entered the hidden sector. It was a quiet, uncharted Rego,